Welcome back to IBC 2013. We're here with Steve McKay, CEO of Entone. Hi Steve. There's a boom in online video at the moment. What are the drivers of that? Is it competition? Is it regulatory?
Well, it's sure competition. In some ways, it's competition for the consumer. Who can get the consumer's attention and ultimately monetize the getting media in the front of the consumer. Of course, the operators themselves are having to compete to offer richer video services and entertainment services for the consumer. And they're also having to compete for content, and this is really driving a lot of the economics of the business these days, is who can really wrap up the best and most effective and economical content deals. So sure, there's competition right up and down the chain.
But given all of that, Steve, what are the challenges to maintaining this development?
Yeah, I would say the challenges are actually unexpected, unnatural challenges in that they're not technology. Companies like Entone, we're solving the technology problems, and I would say that we've solved many of them. There are things like regulatory bodies that I think are lagging behind the desires of the consumer and the things that great technology companies can bring to the consumer. It's protectionism in some cases, perhaps in the corporate form. Companies that have certain ways of traditions of doing business that are being protected, and things like that are really kind of unfortunate, that will slow things down for a while.
In the last few months, we've seen not just the launch of tablets and smartphones and other devices, we've seen things like Chromecast from Google and over-the-top companies launching their own dongles. How is this changing the market for companies like yourself?
Well, it's a challenge for the industry, and of course where there's challenge there's opportunity, but there was a day not that long ago where the operator put a provisioned set-top box in the home. They controlled that device, and it controlled the entertainment experience for the consumer, with TV being by far the world's most popular form of entertainment. And suddenly now we all have this world that we wanted, right? The everything, anywhere, anytime world. It's one of those be careful what you ask for equations, in that suddenly there are so many ways for accessing the same media. And in fact, I won't make you go through it, but if you looked at your home, you would have a dozen different ways of accessing the same video content. At least, and so the operators now have to contend with this, and they, instead of defending against it, they have to embrace this world that I call a bring your own device world, where the consumers are going to bring their own device right to the party, and the operators really have to work to make sure that they support not only over-the-top services on those devices, but also authenticated services. And that's a big part of our R&D right now, is enabling that.
So does this herald a move away from the TV, or will the TV really still be at the centre of operations?
There will be a shift away from the TV. I would suggest that the best use of a TV is as the best display for the money. And I do question all of the effort that has gone into the concept of smart TVs, and I actually think you'll see somewhat of a trend away from that. But part of the reason for that is there, again, back to the previous point, so many ways to access the same content. All of these devices need to work together, and the recycle phases are going to get very rapid because they're going to be cost effective enough to actually replace quickly, whereas TVs, you have in your home on average 6-7 years, and a 6 or 7 year old TV is going to be really antiquated when it comes to a lot of the rich media services that are being supported, and so they're best left to external devices.
So the question now follows, how is Entone capitalizing on these market dynamics?
So Entone, we grew up as a set-top box company, and so my mantra within Entone is always that we need to be the set-top box company that rids the world of set-top boxes, and of course we're selling a lot of them in the process. We'll sell more this year than last year, and more next year than this year. And yet the challenge for companies like us is to really take advantage of the software assets that are in our solutions, to work really closely with world-class partners. We've recently announced partnerships and engagements with TiVo, for example, and LG, and other really world-class user experience and device companies. And so Entone's job is to leverage those partnerships to bring a richer entertainment service to the end consumer and to really support the operators in this process. You have to almost declare your allegiance, right? Is my allegiance to the operator, or am I trying to kill the operator? And so in the case of Entone, our job is to help the operators be as successful as possible, and some of these partnerships really help us do that.
One of the things we've seen at IBC 2013 is a vast array of Ultra HD screens and 4K services. How quickly is that market developing, and where do you guys fit in?
Well, the TVs look awesome. I mean, if you go around the show floor, it is amazing. It'll stop you in your tracks if you see a soccer or a football match going on in the next generation of televisions. Having said that, if you look back at 3D, and that was the promise at this show just a few years ago, and investors were crawling all over the place, and journalists were talking about it, and the vendors were getting excited about it, and you know what? The consumer never showed up. And so the ultimate question is, will the consumer show up? In this case, they will. I personally feel it will take a while to develop because it introduces actually a lot of costs and a lot of change into the entire supply chain to support this. And so the experience for the consumer really has to be a lot, superior to what they had before. And so it'll take a while to develop, but it looks awesome.
We're here this time next year, Steve. What type of a market is it going to be? And how different a company is Entone going to be?
So I don't think Entone will be a much different company. I think we'll have moved along in supporting our roadmap. We have a fantastic roadmap that I think is right on track, and so it's my hope that as a company that we'll be bigger, we'll have grown, our roadmap will have realized itself in the ways that we support consumers and operators, and that is the part that is changing a lot. So we'll have more devices than ever before. There will be crazy announcements of new devices that we hadn't contemplated. Companies like us will have to support them. And at the operator level, who are our customers, you're going to see more and more adoption of the concept of hybrid, and using that to go after a consumer who is kind of caught in the middle. I call it TV's middle class. That on one hand, you have the thousands of euros a year premium pay TV services. At the other hand, you have the quote-unquote cord cutters, and neither one is really that satisfied. One is financially fatigued, and the other, it isn't quite getting what they'd like to have. And so I think the fantastic market opportunity is in the middle, right? To find a way to bring together the best of both of those for the consumer. That's kind of a better value proposition for the consumer, the content that they want, at a price that's, is something that they're ready to pay for.
Excellent. Steve, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks.